So the House expected to vote today. We're talking about $485 billion. We're not done. And trust me when I tell you that's pretty awful. Tony Katz, 93 WIBC. Good morning. There's going to be more spending that comes. This vote is all but guaranteed to go through. You never know what Speaker Pelosi might do. Congressman Greg Pence represents the 6th District of Indiana. He is on the drivehubler.com hotline. Congressman Greg Pence, good to have you with us. One of the things that has been talked about as we've looked at this plan, this $485 billion, was the idea of proxy voting. Before we get to that, you're in D.C. You're going to vote on this $485 billion. Will it get your vote? And are we going to see even another a plan for bailouts, if you will, for getting money to small businesses, a phase 4.0 regarding coronavirus funding?
Well, good morning, Tony. That's a whole bunch of questions at one time. Yeah, I am out in D.C. The reason I'm out here in D.C. is it's my responsibility to represent the people of the 6th District in Indiana, and you don't do that sitting back home. I'm proud to say that I live in Columbus, Indiana. That is my home, but when I'm called to duty, like all the health workers, all the firemen, the policemen, the sheriffs, the people in the grocery stores, the gas stations, the doctors and nurses, they're showing up for work, and I'm showing up for work. Now, to your before we get into the proxy, will there be a 4.0? I think we gotta get things one at a time, Tony. You know, it took so long to get the CARES Act passed and implemented between Treasury and the SBA. Now, we've added more money here. There are some nuances that I still think we need to understand a little bit, whether it's the $75 billion for the hospitals, $25 billion for the testing, and, of course, the $310 to help rescue small businesses. We need to see where that's at. And we also need to see where the virus is at across the country, most particularly in the 6th District in Indiana.
So the other story regarding today's vote, which I don't see even Speaker Pelosi throwing up a new obstacle into getting this done. Anything is always possible with her. That vote will go through, was that she wanted to engage the idea of proxy voting. You talk about being out there in D.C., and your job is to represent the people from the 6th District, Columbus up to Muncie, all the way to the Ohio border, of course. But when they talk about proxy voting, this was the speaker trying to push the idea that members didn't even have to be in D.C. to vote. They could have somebody else do the work for them.
Yeah, that's the way elites think, Tony, right? I don't have to. I'm going to send in my vote. In fact, it says in the bill, because I have it sitting in front of me and I read it before. She pulled it because it's so horrible. The Washington elites get to email in their vote. They don't have to show up, while the doctors and nurses do, okay? Everybody else that's fighting the virus, or everybody else that is supporting our economy and the people across this country, they don't have to. The elites in Nancy Pelosi's mind does not have to show up for work. Email in. And, you know, here's my response to this. It's my duty, constituent services, advocacy, and come out here and vote on behalf of the people of the 6th District. We've done it since the beginning of our country through World War I, World War II, 9/11. Why would we now go to proxy? And by the way, in that bill, let me read a line to you. A determination by the chair under paragraph 1 shall not be subject to appeal. So if something goes awry in your mail-in vote or proxy vote, you don't get to appeal it. You don't get to correct it. So why would we need more than one Democrat and one Republican voting in the House of Representatives? Because everybody could mail in their votes. And that's not representative government. You know, I almost say, if you don't want to come out here and vote on behalf of your people, resign. If you're afraid, resign.
Well, the part that would be pushed back on that is that there's a virus. It's an issue. You're not people walking around in PPEs. The other side of that coin is the idea that you would be either A, giving your vote to somebody else, which isn't the job of the member of Congress, but as you're pointing out, if the chair, meaning the speaker, in this case Speaker Pelosi, can decide for any reason whether a vote is counted or uncounted, it's very hard to have a representative democracy. All right, very hard to have a republic if indeed that's how we're counting.
What do we need the Capitol building for? And I'm going to say President Trump, Vice President Pence, they're at work every day. The Senate said, no, we're going to show up here and do the job, hold the hearing, represent, discuss possibilities. Remember, this is all about health and safety. So we're here, health and safety, not only health and safety to fight the virus, but the health and safety of our economy. And if I'm going to sit home and watch TV and do nothing, then what do we need the House of Representatives for? This is ridiculous. I obviously, you can tell how fired up I got about this whole thing.
Let's take it back to the 6th District and to the state of Indiana, talking to Congressman Greg Pence, and not only Indiana, but throughout the Midwest, places that are not New York, places that are not New Jersey. Georgia says they're going to open. It was President Trump yesterday saying, I'm not so sure they should do that. It's up to them, but I'm not with them. Where are you and where are other members of people you talk to about states reopening?
Yeah, health and safety first, Tony. I think Governor Holcomb's done a great job. He's got a great team around him. I think you have to look at really on a regional, maybe county by county basis when people can. And specifically, I think one of the things maybe they went a little too far in Georgia is, skin on skin you shouldn't do, right, with the coronavirus, especially around elderly people. And I think maybe the opening plan where you go to a hairdresser, while I am completely sympathetic to the problem they find themselves in, skin on skin isn't a good idea until we beat this virus.
Well, I would argue, sir, that there is no date certain when we beat this virus. You've got the director of the CDC, Robert Redfield, saying that it can come back in the winter, and then you'll have the flu and other things, and it'll be difficult to deal with. It's kind of hard to put a date certain on something that has no date certain. So are there no precautions that can be taken in your view? And does this apply to also other members of Congress?
Here in Congress, I'm going to go and we're going to distance. I got some masks at home and some gloves. They are fairly readily available. My wife ordered them online from Amazon, not to do a commercial here. But we are going to take the precautions that have been recommended by Fauci, the CDC, and the scientists. And I will follow the recommendations of the scientists in this.
That is Congressman Greg Pence of the 6th District of Indiana. I appreciate you taking the time. Sir, be safe. Go vote. Go do your thing.